Where are we going?
Into darkness.
VR is increasing as a market, but we're still rather behind when it comes to quality of games. If you were to look at games at the moment which offer a really good single player experience, there's probably about 3 games that you'd recommend. After playing games like Boneworks and Half-Life Alyx, you really start to understand the possibilities within VR, and it really gives you an itch for more single player story driven experiences within VR, where it isn't just a simple wave defense or gun simulator. And while that's not a bad thing that we keep getting these, I think developers should really be pushing for more. Instead of just a simple gimmick, they should really be taking notes from these games and upping the ante. And for a while I thought I found something that showed promise. I used to get adverts from time to time about an upcoming VR title called Into the Darkness that showed a lot of similarities to Boneworks, a game I absolutely love. So my initial reaction was, oh hey, this is a game inspired by Boneworks. Sure, sign me up. From the trailer I saw, it looked like a promising concept, as I assumed the trailer was still an early stage of development, but it turns out it's not, as it's meant to be coming out this year, and then during the Steam Next Fest they dropped a demo. And after playing it, I'll be honest, I don't really know what to think. Into the Darkness seems to me like a mix-up of ideas and mechanics from various games crammed into a rather bleak and uninteresting setting. The story, however, is a nice idea though. In the near future, humanity is trying to achieve immortality by transferring the human's consciousness into machines, and it appears to go terribly wrong. Or as the Steam page puts it, navigate through environment, solve the puzzle, engage enemy, to find out the dark secret behind the experiments. All jokes and language barriers aside, this sounds like a cool idea, especially when you remember that this is a VR title. There's a lot more creativity that can be thrown into this concept considering you're playing with the idea of humans becoming robots, which could make for a nice horror element. However, when playing the demo, the story seems to be absent almost entirely. They mention it here and there, but there's no real world building to it, and the level design in this game is pretty dull. In the demo, you're given the tutorial in the first level to play around with, letting you first get used to the controls and experiencing what's on offer, all while accompanied by an AI that's voiced by text-to-speech.
It's so strange. This droid, I'm 26, shouldn't be here. The previous agents never reported this. Something weird is happening. You must be careful. That droid is used as a service robot, not a combat one. So why did it attack you?
I'm going to hope that this is temporary. The gameplay itself seems to be a pretty straightforward setup, very similar to Boneworks. It's a first-person shooter with a focus on physics. What the fuck? Kind of. The controls feel a bit awkward at times as well. Gripping a gun can be a bit finicky, and sprinting is done by pressing up the left stick twice in quick succession, instead of just clicking in the left stick, because that brings up some UI thing. Honestly, I have no idea what this is for, it doesn't seem to do anything. You also have an inventory system that is incredibly similar to Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, and just like Boneworks, you have a full body player model to play around with, which normally would be fine to an extent, but throughout the demo I noticed that I'd randomly get slower for no reason. And it turns out, if I turn around, my body got stuck.
What the fuck?
This appears to be a mix of a tracking issue from inside out tracking, but also not having the measure in place to put a default position for the hand to the waist when the tracking is lost. And that's exactly why I don't think full body player models should be a norm yet. Tracking isn't spot on yet, even with the lighthouses, and without extra equipment you can't really get full body motion tracking, so I don't know why developers are pushing for it. Give me arms and a chest, sure, but the creative choice will end up being an inconvenience to the player instead of an immersive bonus, especially when it doesn't work. Also, speaking of inconveniencing the player, why on earth does this game have a durability system for weapons? It feels so out of place. For some reason they've taken more of a scavenge and salvage approach where everything has a durability meter to it, so it's trying to push you to be more selective of how you tackle enemies throughout the level. Although if you have a knife, it's just a one-hit kill as you can impale a robot's head just like a zombie in Saints and Sinners. And you can check the durability and stats by just looking at the side of the weapon. It's pretty much just like Saints and Sinners. Okay, I know claiming the inventory being suspiciously familiar is a little silly, especially when you look at the reworked version of the inventory they added to Thief Simulator last year, but when you look at the rest of the game, I'm starting to have a bit of a doubt with how legit this game feels, because when you observe how the inspired elements work compared to the original, it feels a bit too familiar and a bit weird when you look at the original ideas for the game and begin to wonder what took priority. Take the level design for example. In Boneworks, levels are rather big and empty, and Into the Darkness levels are rather big and empty. However, unlike Boneworks, it's boring and there's no atmosphere. When playing Boneworks, you get this amazing feeling of mystery as you progress through the game, pushing you to explore and find secrets wherever you can. But in the demo of Into the Darkness, I never got this feeling, instead it just felt like a linear line. And then there's the climbing. Oh god, the climbing. The climbing in this game is jank. Grabbing ledges feels a little inconsistent, then you seem to bounce whenever you grab something like you're on a bungee cord. One thing Into the Darkness does do, which sometimes works in its favour, is when you're climbing you can pull yourself towards the top of a ledge and automatically climb over, which is a great idea. Climbing in VR can be a bit weird and trying to climb up a ledge is a hassle, so having a feature like this makes climbing less tedious, but when you're climbing upwards, sometimes you can activate it by accident and get thrown back down to the bottom because there's nowhere to stand. And that isn't great. Into the Darkness has a concept that I think could be a lot of fun, but if this demo is an accurate recent build of the game, which I think it might be considering there's a lot of bug fixes for this demo, then the 2021 release window needs to be changed, as this game definitely needs a lot of work to it. There's something I can really think of that makes this game look good in its current state, which is a shame because I was rather hopeful for it at first. It's janky, uninteresting, poorly optimised outside of the tutorial, and frankly, it wasn't even that fun. I was kinda glad when the demo ended, and I know it seems silly to make a video on a demo of a game, but this was something I was genuinely interested in. And, you know, I don't want to be the guy who shits on a game for a living. I'd rather a game improve, so I thought I would share my thoughts. This game needs a lot of work all over, and definitely needs to find its identity. So far, it's just the game that has Boneworks and Saints and Sinners mechanics, which is fine and it all works perfectly, but you can't just copy someone's homework and make it your own. Well, I mean, you could, but you know, it paints a bad image. I get the feeling I'm going to get some snarky comments from this video, so just to clear the air, I'm not trying to state that the developers have stolen game code, firstly because that would be stupid, and secondly that could get me into legal trouble. I'm more implying that they spent more time trying to copy the mechanics from other games like Boneworks and Saints and Sinners, that the overall product has lost potential polish because of it. Could the end product be good? Possibly. I don't know. I want to keep an eye on it for sure, but the impression I got from the demo so far is that this game is going to launch with mixed reviews at best. But who knows, I might be wrong. Frankly, I hope I'm wrong. Developers, I want you to prove me wrong. Make me look like an idiot.